I would like to welcome Dr. Ilke Demir, yes, to present C2PA. And now we're talking about data, quite important. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I know we have been sitting here for some time, and thank you. So I'm the last one, so bear with me. So I am Ilke Demir. I am a scientist by education, but I'm also leading Intel's. I was leading Intel's trusted media effort to build this trusted digital online together, and you may have heard about all the content protection, content detection, misinformation, disinformation efforts that is coming from my team. But today we are talking about C2PA and the future of content. So as I said, like today, we are talking about C2PA mainly. And before even I go into the provenance realm, can I have a show of hands about how many people have heard about C2PA before? Lovely. You are my favorite crowd right now. Thank you. Thank you. I have talked about C2PA to other audiences, and it's like one hand, two hands, but I love you. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. So I don't need to say that much about provenance. We know how important is provenance. There are so many images, videos, audio, text, 3D around that is generated by unknown sources or modified by unknown sources, and then those unknown sources find their way into our lives. Social media, traditional media. I have seen international news outlets showing the Hollywood sign burning in LA fire, which didn't happen. For example, like even if you have some sort of provenance information saying that, like, for example, Intel created that image, maybe it's a deepfake, you never know. Do you just trust it because it says Intel there? I don't know. Maybe it's me, maybe it's not. So because of all of these informations like misinformation, defamation, frauds, infringement, deception, etc., we need a way to establish provenance for transparency, for trust, for ownership, for security, and for all of these purposes. So C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, is aiming to address the prevalence of misleading information online through the development of technical standards for certifying the source and history of digital assets. Basically, from the generation to the consumption, we want to know what happened to the data, what happened to the content, what happened to the media, what happened to your text, what happened to your beautiful 3D Moana model. I don't know, right? Okay. C2PA is actually a standards organization, and it's a joint development foundation project through an alliance between founding companies. Currently, it has 11 steering committee members, and there is over 500 general and contributor members. These are the steering members. You may know some of them. And if you go to c2pa.org, you can see all of the contributing members. If we look at a rough timeline about C2PA, it was like 50 organizations gathered in San Jose to start what's happening to content, right, in 2019. And in 2020, there was the white paper with Microsoft, Rupic, BBC, all coming together about what we can do about the content, right? And then C2PA was formed in 2021. After that, V1 spec, the very first attempt to actually put out those frameworks for the standards, was put in there. And then in 2024, V2 spec was released. And there was, of course, more adoption. TikTok, Meta, LinkedIn, Photoshop, OpenAI, all of them actually stepped up, saying that, yes, we need provenance. Yes, we want to support provenance efforts somehow, right? And now the spec is on V2 version 2.1. It includes even more improvements from previous versions with like digital watermarks, identity assertions, data boxes, and different assertion types. I also want to mention just briefly, like, who are those C2PA people? I'm just like saying one word. This is many people, etc. But there are very different technical working groups under C2PA that is trying to cover all the ground, right? We cannot say, okay, we have a standard, let's use a standard without thinking everywhere it goes. So towards that, there is the AIML working group looking at model attestation, looking at like what happens to training when you train, when you don't train, what happens with generative AI, right? There is watermarking group, like can we actually have, in addition to the hard bindings, can we have soft bindings? Can we actually use perceptual hashes, fingerprinting? What types of watermarks can we support? Watermarks for different modalities, etc. There is a very important threats and harms group, right? So what happens if these C2PA provenance information gets detached, or what are the attacks that can come to the provenance, what we can cover, how we can cover ground, etc. There is a very detailed like user experience guidance about what the consumer actually sees about provenance data. There are also subgroups for text, audio, live video, and there are other groups that I didn't list here. But what I'm trying to say is, if you are doing something with content, if your company is doing something with content, there is some place in C2PA that your contributions would be super valuable. Okay, what is the C2PA specification? I keep saying that. So C2PA specification is an open standard for storing and accessing cryptographically verifiable and tamper-evident information whose trustworthiness can be assessed based on a defined trust model. Ooh, very big sentence. I needed to read it to make it just. But the goal of the C2PA specification is basically to tackle the extraordinary challenge of trusting media in the context of revolving technological and democratization of powerful creation and editing techniques. So the specification is designed to enable global opt-in adoption of digital provenance techniques through the creation of a rich ecosystem of digital provenance enabled applications for a wide range of individuals, organizations, and devices, while meeting appropriate security and privacy requirements as well as human rights considerations. So if you want to look at the specifications, it is live there, c2pa.org/specifications. There is the normative guidance, there is the normative document, and then guidelines. There are many things that you can specify about your content. As I said, it looks like all the way from like whatever type of content, who edited it, how it was captured, what it was captured, what was the history, what was the edits, like what were the parts that it was edited, etc. So if we look at it a little bit, so content credentials is what the consumer sees. Content credentials is basically that history of data, the provenance information. This is on the C2PA side. This is stored in a C2PA manifest, and the manifest basically has these parts called assertions, claim, and claim signature. So assertions are basically those bits of data, bits of information about the data. So there is the hard binding, there is the actions, so what happened to the image. There is the ingredients, so if you have a beautiful image of a polar bear in sunset, and if the sunset is coming from somewhere, polar bear is coming from somewhere, you actually put them together, those are the ingredients. And then you put a beautiful music behind it, so there's another ingredient, etc. And all of these ingredients themselves may also have associated provenance information. So this is like not just one manifest, but it can be like a tree of manifests that are combining all of these data sources, media sources, content sources. Then there is the claim. So claim is basically how it was, who created this manifest, right? Here, EditSuite created this manifest on September 2021, etc. That is showing that like a trusted or a known manifest generator actually generated that. And then there's the claim signature about like, okay, this was signed by this either suite or software or like a manifest signer, and then you can actually trust this content credential. Those content credentials can be embedded or referenced. So the main use case is actually how we can embed them into the images, video, audio, documents, etc. But also they can also be referenced. They can be stored separately, online, offline, in the cloud, in blockchains, referenced by URLs, URIs, HTTP headers, file systems, and more. And basically, as I said, it gives you this like history of what happened to your content. So whenever there is a new editing part, there's a new editing assertion. Whenever someone publishers sign it differently. Then there is sharing, how it was shared. Is it a platform? Then platform actually has like optimized delivery, and there's an edit to the data, and then it is also captured, etc. So you can see that how the life cycle builds up on that provenance information. Now, of course, trust isn't binary. So what this provenance information is trying to give you is that give you as many trust signals as possible so that you, as the consumer, can decide for yourself whether you trust it or not. Okay. This is also based on a series of, this is also modeled on the same principles of like PDF and web, those cryptographic approaches that has been used for many years are also integrated now into the content space. I can see the question marks in your heads about what about generative AI. So for generative AI, C2PA has different categorizations. For example, identifying assets and regions of interest. So if you are doing in-painting, out-painting, I don't know, just put my face to somewhere else, etc., then those localized edits can be tagged and said like modified by AI. There's also information about the recipe, which is the model, the prompt, whatever you are using in generative AI to use it from, you actually give them into, like you put them into the provenance information. And on the other side, not to create with generative AI, but like to block generative AI, or like any type of AI, basically, you can, creators can actually label the content as do not train. So hopefully that doesn't go into any training data sets. There are many implementations, commercial and open source implementations, hardware implementations, and many more. These are listed in the website, so I am not reading all of them. There's also extensions to C2PA. So JPEG Trust is one of the ISO standards that are C2PA compatible, and there are really good relationships between like JPEG Trust and C2PA. Same with PDF association and the ISO numbers, and we have many other extensions to C2PA. So that's it. I am Ilke. You can, if you have questions, if you have non-C2PA related questions about content protection, deepfakes, deepfake detection, etc., you can reach out to me. If you have C2PA related questions, I advise you to first go to c2pa.org. If your answer is not there, then you can, of course, come to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was great.